Hi, I'm Ernie Medina with TRB, and the question asked a lot is, can we really prepare for fight or flight? Can you really prepare or replicate some of the things and feelings that you'll experience in fight or flight in your training? And to many different degrees and ways, yes, you can. Okay, short of actually throwing knives at you and actually shooting at you, there are ways that you can actually prepare for fight or flight. And it's really about your mindset with training. So if I want to really prepare for things that I'll experience in fight or flight, then I'm going to take a different approach to my training. So instead of going to the range where it's nicely air conditioned, you have a table in front of you, and you have a target that's clear 5 yards away or whatever the distance is, I want to change things up. And there's certain merit to that, by the way. If you're working on accuracy, you want to focus on that, you really want to focus on just honing in on that one thing, then sure, absolutely. But if I'm really training for fight or flight, I'm going to actually make the conditions perhaps as austere as I can possibly handle. Something simply that you can do is, if it's a hot day outside, train outside, okay? Put yourself in the position where you're hot, you're sweaty, you're uncomfortable. Even though your heart's not racing per se, you are dealing with some level of discomfort, okay? And pushing through that, and that's part of fight or flight. Another thing that you can do is actually put a time stressor on yourself. So a lot of folks out there will bash competition shooters because they say, oh, they're not real defenders, they're not really preparing for real life, whatever. I say nay, and I'm not a competition shooter, but a competition shooter will tell you that being under the gun, so to speak, for time is injecting stress into your performance, which is what you want, because in fight or flight, you will be stressed. Your heart's going to race and things like that. So if I'm trying to beat time, my heart's going to race. I'm going to become stressed out. So another thing that you can do is put a time standard on your training. So if I want to say draw under a certain time, I'm going to say my standard is 2 seconds, a second and a half, a second, whatever your standard is. And you're going to try and beat that time every time. Now you can start adding things. I can be in a nice environment, but if I want to beat my time, instead of being in a comfortable environment, I put myself outside. I put myself in a position where I'm uncomfortable and still having to perform to that standard. That's another way that you can inject a little bit of fight or flight prep. Another thing that you can do, and this seems a little bit trivial, but you can actually take your mind off of what you're doing by talking. Having somebody else out there on the range asking you questions, having to say or do things apart from what you're actually doing. So if I'm doing my draw stroke and it takes so much mental capacity, I want to train to where I can actually hold a conversation with somebody or teach you about fight or flight, okay, and still do my presentation. It becomes mindless. So that way you're actually training that muscle memory to prepare for fight or flight. Another thing that I like to do, and this is something where it's now hand-to-hand training, because you are going to get hit, you are going to get hurt or whatever. So take your firearms training or your overall defense training off the range and onto the mat, okay? And this means getting on the mat, rolling with people in grappling and things like that, taking strikes and blows, taking a punch on the mat, and still keeping in that fight, so to speak. It's about getting hit and receiving blows, so to speak, and being able to continue on. And that's preparing really not only your physical toughness, but your mental toughness as well. So I certainly am a proponent that if you're going to be a real defender, you're not just going to focus on your marksmanship. You're going to train your mental responses, you're going to train your physical responses, and you're going to train your mental toughness. Okay, so those are some things about fight or flight that you can do that really prepares you. Now, a lot of us train at the gym, train at home, and do a lot of calisthenics exercises. And this is another easy way to prepare and kind of bring in a lot of this stuff. So A dry fire, as it is a crucial component to your practice, it should be, you can actually integrate, just in your living room, you can integrate doing some calisthenic workouts like push-ups or ab exercises to the point where you are breathing heavy and tired and sweaty, or hitting a punching bag or something like that, and have to disengage from that exercise or finish that exercise and then do 5 reps of a holster draw and get that either time or accuracy down. So you want to physically fatigue yourself and still perform. Okay? Those are many different ways that you can actually prepare for fight or flight, short of actually being in a real life situation. But if you do these things, you will find that you're going to be better prepared and execute better if and when the time, or the unfortunate time, arises. So just a few ideas about fight or flight and how you can properly prepare yourself for the unfortunate circumstance. If you enjoyed the video regarding our tips and techniques of how to be a better shooter, then sign up for our day-long courses in the desert, where we'll immerse you in the respective platform, whether it be rifle or pistol, and bring you either from basic to a very proficient basic level, or if you're an intermediate or advanced shooter, really sharpen your skills and integrate some of that real world or real life scenario stressors to be better prepared as a defender.